All right, ready for a deep dive.
Always.
Today, it's Dante Alighieri.
Ah, Dante.
And not just the poet, but the philosopher inside him. You're philosophy fans already, so we're skipping Inferno 101 and getting to what makes Dante intellectually fascinating.
Good, good.
Think Dante for philosophers, using the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy as our guide.
That's key. Dante's not just a literary figure. He's wrestling with huge philosophical questions.
Right.
What's amazing is he's doing this while also being a public figure, soldier, politician.
Yeah.
Imagine writing epic poetry while exiled from your city.
Exile's more than just biography, though, isn't it? It seems like it really fueled his work.
Exactly. Exile forced Dante to confront questions of justice, power firsthand. It made him think deeply about individual morality, political systems, that whole relationship. And this experience is woven into his writing.
Which is where his decision to write in Italian, the vernacular, comes in.
Precisely. He could have gone with Latin, the scholar's language. But Dante chose the language of the people, making his work accessible to a wider audience.
Huge difference.
He saw himself as a public intellectual, someone to elevate discourse, bring philosophy to the masses, revolutionary for his time.
So we've got this politically active Dante, exiled, writing for everyday folks.
Yeah.
But his early work is about love, Beatrice specifically. How does that fit the philosophical picture?
This is where it gets interesting. Beatrice isn't just a muse. She's a symbol for philosophical exploration.
Interesting.
He's drawing on poets like Guido Guinizelli, who saw love as a path to spiritual elevation,
Okay.
and Guido Cavalcanti, who saw it as distracting from reason. But Dante doesn't pick sides.
He doesn't.
No. He explores the tension between those views, shows how love can both ennoble and endanger the soul.
Give an example. How does that play out in his poetry?
Certainly. In his early poems, Dante describes love's transformative power, how it leads to heightened awareness of beauty, goodness.
I see.
But he also acknowledges the dangers of unrequited love, the obsession, despair. Think of it as a philosophical debate, but through the language of love.
It sounds like he's dealing with some pretty complex stuff, even in his early work. Where do you get his philosophical foundation?
Dante was clearly well-versed in the big thinkers of his time. You see Aristotle's logic, Aquinas' theology, Neoplatonism's influence.
Wow.
But he's not just regurgitating, he's synthesizing, blending them with his experiences, his insights, creating something new.
So not just a scholar, but an innovator. A philosophical magpie, like you said, collecting ideas to forge his own path.
Exactly. And one key influence throughout is Neoplatonism, this idea of a hierarchy of being.
Okay.
God at the top, the human soul striving to ascend. This concept of a spiritual journey really shapes Dante's worldview.
Okay, so we've got the exiled poet-politician, deep into love AD philosophy.
Uh-huh.
But he also wrote lesser-known work, The Convivio, right? What's that about?
The Convivio translates to the banquet.
Banquet, huh?
It's like Dante inviting us to a feast of knowledge. He planned 14 treatises.
14.
Only 4 got finished, sadly.
Oh.
But even those give us a peek into his philosophical mind.
So what's on the menu at this philosophical banquet?
Dante explores some really thought-provoking ideas, like the power of philosophy to bring happiness.
Happiness.
He even argues it can offer beatitude in this life, personifies philosophy as a beautiful lady, the Donna Gentile, highlighting its allure, power.
That's fascinating. But didn't he also believe in the Christian idea of happiness, the afterlife kind? How does he reconcile those two?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
Dante is always wrestling with the relationship between earthly fulfillment and spiritual salvation. And in the Convivio, he suggests philosophy provides an earthly beatitude, a purpose, fulfillment found through knowledge, contemplation.
So he's not rejecting the Christian ideal, but he's acknowledging human reason can achieve some happiness here and now.
Exactly. He's exploring the limits, possibilities of reason, pushing boundaries of what was acceptable philosophical thought back then.
Which makes him even more interesting for us today, right?
Yeah.
Asking questions still relevant centuries later.
Absolutely. And his focus on language is a key part of that. Dante believed language wasn't just communication, but a force shaping society, inspiring virtue.
Right.
Powerful stuff.
That brings us to the De Vulgare Eloquentia, his treatise on Italian vernacular. This is where he goes on a quest for the most illustrious Italian, right?
It's more than just linguistics.
Is it?
Dante's making a philosophical argument for the vernacular's power. He believed profound ideas belonged in the language of the people, not just elite Latin. revolutionary, challenging the hierarchy of language and knowledge.
So he's not just pro-Italian, he's arguing for knowledge to be democratic.
Exactly. Dante saw a deep link between language and power, believed a refined cardinal language could shape individual thought and the political landscape.
Interesting.
He envisioned a unified Italy brought together by shared language, culture.
Ah, and that's where the Monarchia comes in. His treatise on needing a world emperor.
You got it. This is Dante's political philosophy front and center.
Okay.
Uses Aristotle's ideas on order, governance, to argue for a single ruler, someone to bring peace, unity to all humanity.
Ambitious.
But he goes beyond Aristotle, sees this emperor as a catalyst for intellectual and a spiritual flourishing globally.
It's a pretty utopian vision.
Yeah.
What were his main arguments? Why did this emperor need to exist?
Dante believed human potential could only be reached under a just, stable political order.
I see.
He argued a world emperor, free from corrupting national influences, could provide that order.
Okay.
Saw it as the only way to eliminate conflict, foster an environment where people could focus on higher things, philosophy, the arts.
So it's not just about political power. It's creating ideal conditions for humans to flourish.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating mix of political philosophy and a vision for a more enlightened society.
It is.
But let's circle back to beatitude for a second. In the Convivio, Dante talks about reaching happiness through philosophy in this life.
Right.
How does that mesh with the Christian view? Salvation in the afterlife.
Dante walks a fascinating tightrope. He's devoutly Christian, no question.
Yeah.
But also deeply invested in human reason.
Mm-hmm.
In the Convivio, he seems to say philosophy offers a glimpse of true happiness, even on earth, almost like we can taste heaven through thinking deeply.
Wouldn't that be heretical, saying we don't need God's grace for happiness?
He was pushing boundaries, for sure, and that's part of what makes Dante so intriguing. He grapples with these tough questions, even if it means challenging dogma.
Right.
He seems to be saying faith and reason both have roles in our search for meaning, fulfillment.
So he's on this tightrope between faith and reason, not rejecting the church, but not limiting himself either.
Exactly.
Engaging with classical philosophy, exploring different ways to understand being human.
Precisely. And that's what makes him so rich for us, even now. He makes us ask, faith versus reason, the nature of happiness, how politics shapes our potential.
He's way ahead of his time.
He is.
And he does it all in incredibly beautiful, evocative language. His mastery of imagery, allegory is undeniable.
Absolutely.
Whether it's hell's torments, purgatory's climb, paradise's beauty, his words transport you.
It's the magic of Dante. He conveys complex philosophy through vivid images, making it accessible, compelling. He doesn't tell you about love, justice, the soul's journey. He shows you.
A master storyteller.
Yes.
But underneath, there's this profound philosophical mind working.
Right.
Using literature as a vehicle to explore the biggest questions humanity faces.
Exactly.
And that's what makes him so timeless.
It is. His work still resonates because he taps into universal human experiences, longing for love, searching for meaning, fighting for justice.
These themes go beyond any one time or place.
They do.
So we've got this incredibly complex figure, poet, politician, philosopher.
Uh-huh.
What are some key takeaways for someone trying to understand Dante as a philosopher?
One thing that jumps out is his willingness to engage with lots of different philosophical traditions.
Okay.
He doesn't shy away from Aristotle, Aquinas' theology.
Yeah.
But he's open to Neoplatonism's mystical side, too, synthesizing these influences into something unique.
So not a follower of any one school. He's an independent thinker, making his own way.
Exactly. And another key takeaway is his focus on language's power. He understands it's not just information. It shapes perception, inspires action, creates shared meaning. And that's as relevant today as it was then.
So he's not just a philosopher for philosophers then.
Yo.
He's a thinker whose ideas can resonate with anyone who cares about language, politics, or finding meaning in a complex world.
Absolutely. And finally, it's important to remember Dante was a man of his time,
Right.
deeply immersed in 14th century Italy's politics, culture, but he was also a visionary, someone who looked beyond his era's limitations.
He's drawing on the past, but looking ahead too.
He was.
Believed in human reason, potential for progress, the power of art, language to transform.
And that makes him timeless. His work reminds us philosophy isn't just some abstract thing academics do. It's engaging with the world, asking tough questions, trying to understand ourselves and our place in it all.
It is. And what's amazing is how Dante brings all this to life through his characters.
Oh, absolutely.
He's not just dealing with concepts. He's showing how they play out in people's lives.
Right.
Even if those people are in hell, purgatory, or paradise.
Exactly. One of the things that makes Dante such a compelling philosopher is his grasp of human psychology.
Yeah.
The complexities of love, ambition, despair, he gets it.
Deep stuff.
It's like he's peeling back layers of the soul, showing us all its contradictions.
You really see that in the Inferno.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a list of sins and punishments.
No.
It's a study of human weakness, the choices that lead us astray.
Uh-huh.
But even in that darkness, there's this glimmer of hope.
Always the possibility of redemption in Dante's world.
Yeah.
Even in hell's depths, there's this sense, those souls, they still have a spark of humanity, a capacity for reason, choice. And that's powerful.
It reminds me of that line from the Inferno. Consider your origin. You were not made to live like brutes, but to follow virtue and knowledge.
Yes. Even in hell, he's pushing us towards something more.
Right. Use our reason, choose a better way.
Exactly. And that idea of choice, it's core to Dante's philosophy.
It is.
He believed in free will, our ability to choose good or evil. But he also knew choices have consequences.
For sure.
In this life and the next.
The Divine Comedy, when you think about it, is a journey through the consequences of choice.
It is. We see how our actions shape our destiny.
The choices we make right now determine where we end up.
Exactly. And it's not just personal choices either. Dante explores political ones too, how leaders can elevate or corrupt.
Right.
His exile made him very aware of how power can be abused.
So he's not just talking about ethics in theory. He's showing us how they work out in the real world.
Yes, personal and political, both.
That's what makes his work so weighty, urgent.
It is. He's not just observing. He's a participant in these struggles. He's lived it.
Right.
And that experience shapes his philosophy.
Makes them relatable too, even now.
Definitely.
We all face choices, big and small. Dante's saying, think carefully, consider the impact. Aim for a path that leads to true fulfillment.
So well put. If we had to sum up Dante's philosophical legacy, especially for someone approaching him as a philosopher, what would you say?
For me, it's his belief in reason, that making conscious choices matters.
Good.
And that search for meaning, it never ends. He embraced faith in reason, knew we have limits, but still pushed for knowledge, wisdom.
I agree completely. His focus on language is crucial too.
Oh, yeah.
He knew language shapes how we think. It can inspire, persuade, create a shared vision. That matters more than ever today, with all the information bombarding us.
So we've covered Dante's life, his works, influences, what he leaves behind. He's clearly way more than just the Inferno guy.
He is.
A complex, fascinating thinker, still relevant today. Any final words for our listener as they explore Dante further?
Dante's work is like this huge, intricate tapestry.
I like that.
So many threads, layers to discover. He doesn't hand you answers, but he makes you ask profound questions about yourself, the world, what it all means. Dive into his writing, embrace the challenge, start your own journey. You won't regret it.
Beautifully said. So, listener, we urge you, go deeper into Dante's world. Explore his poetry, his political stuff, his philosophical side. You'll find so much to challenge and inspire you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Dante Alighieri, the philosophical mind. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking the truth.